Residents near Bridgetown in Western Australia are anxiously waiting to learn the extent of toxic heavy metal contamination in the area after a devastating bushfire on Saturday. Key points: 600 tons of treated pine logs were burnt in the fire. 600 tons of treated pine logs were burnt in the fire. There are fears of copper-chromium-arsenate contamination. There are fears of copper-chromium-arsenate contamination. Residents still don't know when they will be able to return to their homes. The damage from 4 emergency-level bushfires in communities across the southwest, Great Southern and Wheat Belt is still being assessed, but at least 5 houses have been lost. Fire authorities said they were still gauging the extent of heavy metal contamination in Hester after a bushfire burnt through 600 tons of chemically treated pine logs at the timber treaters plant. The logs were treated with the preservative copper-chromium-arsenate. At a meeting this afternoon, community members were told the hazmat zone could be contained tomorrow and were again advised not to drink from water tanks. Residents were told each property near the plant would be tested. Properties at Hester were damaged in the blaze. Supplied. Ryan Murray from the Department of Fire and Emergency Services said tests were still being carried out to assess the levels of arsenic and copper in the soil. About 15 homes close to the site were evacuated and residents were told to watch out for symptoms including nausea and diarrhea. Rebecca and Richard Stucken want to get back home, but are worried about the safety of their kids. Supplied. Hayley Guyver Photography. It is a bit scary. Rebecca Stucken, her husband and 3 young children had to flee Hester on Saturday night. Her property was saved, but now she's worried about the toxic fallout at her home, which is in the exclusion zone. "I'm worried about the contamination," she said. "I've got young kids, so it is a bit scary. Now I'm worried about the animals, because they are still out there and we're not allowed to tend to them. DFES did go out and feed them, but they are drinking water that could be contaminated." Rebecca Stucken's chickens survived the fire, which damaged much of the property. Supplied. Rebecca Stucken. Richard Stucken said he was so scared for his children's health that he was considering moving. "I don't know if we're going to stay out there or not," he said. "I'd have to look at the contamination levels, which they unfortunately couldn't provide today." Hester resident Carmen Farquhar is anxious about chemical contamination near her home. ABC Southwest, Jacqueline Lynch. Serious concerns for kids. At the community meeting, Carmen Farquhar expressed her concern about the health of her family. "We will consider proper testing and secure our house before we go in and stay, for sure," she said. Curtin University Professor of Environmental and Occupational Health, Ben Mullins, said he was concerned the contaminated ash has spread through the region by the smoke plume. "The main risk is from the arsenic and chromium, which are both carcinogens, so they are a serious cancer risk if ingested," he said. "The group you'd be concerned about the most is children, because they tend to play outside in the soil, and we know that arsenic and chromium can persist for long periods in the soil." Response questioned by union. Meanwhile, United Professional Firefighters Union Secretary Tim Kuchera demanded to know why DFES failed to call back available career firefighters from the metropolitan area to help regional volunteers. "It was a resource that was there," he said this morning. "It should have been utilized to support those volunteers on the ground." But DFES Assistant Commissioner Craig Waters said paid firefighters from Bunbury were sent to the fires. "The whole response to the 4 incidents has been outstanding," he said.